And there it is. And the end of the show. I hope everybody had a good show today, and we will see you again next week on Military.
What's a quickie?
He's fucking with me because I came in last minute.
What up?
She showed up, and I immediately added her. So
yeah,
anyway,
I just walked in the door.
Was that you that messaged me?
Somebody I did earlier. You reacted with a like.
Okay, so
I just shared the show on
Military Monday.
X.
Yay! I haven't even been on X this morning. I've had a busy.
Yeah,
day.
but I'm always promoting your stuff, sir, because you're one of the greatest.
Well, I appreciate it, Joe. I wasn't sure you were going to be here today, and I didn't add you to the credits on the description. Which
it's okay. You guys never add me. Then it's cool.
Well, if I'd known you were going to be here, I would have.
Well, you've been promising to put me on the credits at the end of the show for a long time, and you still haven't done it.
Yeah,
we've known each other 2 years.
I touched that thing in 2 years. You know.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
Snort a poopus.
Joe, look how long it took him to add me to the fucking credits.
Right?
It's your turn in 5 years or so.
No, man, I'm here because I love hanging with my boys, man. You, Martin, Pope, Anima. Yeah, I consider one of the boys. Yeah, I do.
I'm honored, I guess.
Hey, I refer to all my friends as guys.
Me too.
There you go.
That includes my female friends, guys.
There you go.
It's a very generic word. Now, if I say dude, I mean guy. Aside from my condo association trying to assess me for more money for some unneeded power washing, I'm okay. How is you? Well, we are doing fine. I am. I'm feeling 3 weeks of sleeping on a sofa. Feeling it today.
Painful.
And, I got to tell you, man. Whew. Actually, it's 3.5 weeks. 3.5 weeks. So anyway, I'm not going to bitch though, because I'm grateful for my life. Yeah, Joe isn't added to the backdoor credits. That's right. D. Bud Martin is here. So we're going to be talking about really one of the most, and I'm doing this on purpose because this afternoon we're going to be doing D-Day with 70s rock fan, and Pope will be there too. So it's like Pope and I are just going to be doing 2 shows a day. I'm only going to be there for an hour,
buddy.
But
you're there too.
I'll make it a good hour because D-Day tends to get all the attention in June, whereas this battle deserves some attention too, because it was, we had 2 different theaters of operation. You had the Pacific and you had the European theater, and one's just as important as the other. And I always tell people, combat for the Marines, and a little bit for the Army too, because the Army was there in the Pacific as well, but mostly the Marines. And that is the first time outside of the Philippines we saw jungle warfare, and it was to a level we'd never really dealt with before, because the Japanese were different in how they wage war, and it got kind of caveman.
We also had to learn a lot of lessons about operating in a jungle environment, like all the disease, all the lack of fresh water, all that kind of stuff. Were all lessons.
Moisture is so water important. Moisture is dangerous because if that moisture gets into your shoes, gets into your clothing, fungus, mold, disease,
trench foot,
mosquitoes, malaria. Oh my God, so many problems with their feet. And it's scary shit. Jungle warfare is just something else, and the stressors, and I'm not saying that the European theater didn't have its own kind of stresses. They did, but it is a wholly different kind of warfare. Jungle warfare, the Pacific War, And this film, even though there is a little bit of ground combat in it, it is 95% air to ship combat. And I also really do appreciate that they give us a truncated version of Pearl Harbor as well as Billy Mitchell's flight, because they're all connected.
I was fixing to say, you can't tell the story of Midway without at least referring to those two events. Yeah, no doubt.
Those two events. And I love that every single major military critic said this movie made up for Pearl Harbor, which they're referring to the really terrible movie.
Yeah.
That came out.
The Ben Affleck flick? Yeah.
Ben Affleck. I was not a fan of his after that movie. I was so pissed. But you know what? And I was just joking about it, that there are fan edits out there. You can find them where they take all the lovey-dovey crap out and just leave it to the combat.
We're still hoping somebody gives us one.
Nurse's outfit, so.
I was fixing to say Kate Beckinsale, bro. Come on.
Look, she's hot. I admit it, but I could have done without her. You know, I could have done without her, Annette. You need to refer to the Coral Sea battle as well, since it impacted what happened at Midway. Yes, it does. And look, what ends up happening here is they broke the back of the Japanese Navy. And on top of that, they broke the code. And then right after this, we started using the Navajo code breakers. And absolutely, the Japanese, and I do admit right at the beginning, there's a discussion between, what's his name, Patrick Wilson, and the Japanese commander. I'm not sure if that was Yamamoto or who that was supposed to be.
It was Yamamoto. Yeah, it was.
But they're having, it was. And he says, I understand you said that the Japanese couldn't win a war against the United States. And he says, no, I said the Japanese couldn't win a lengthy war with the United States. And what their hopes were after Pearl Harbor is that they felt like they would have broken the back and the spirit of Americans, and we would sign a treaty to where they would get what they were wanting. And did not go that way at all.
I thought it was interesting that he mentioned that they were getting 80% of their fuel from the Americans.
Which is what caused that.
But part of it was because we also that in the steel, we cut them off. We wouldn't allow them to buy steel, and they needed it for their plans because they invaded China, which pissed us off.
Yep. And
that led to the embargo and led to them attacking. Ironically, 40 years before, it had already Billy Mitchell had predicted that Japan would eventually attack us, and they would attack us at Pearl Harbor.
And he almost got
court-martialed. Yeah, he got court-martialed.
Yeah, he almost got kicked out of the military entirely for that, because the Japanese were an ally at the time, and they were not amused by his little prediction.
And then it came true. But is it self-fulfilled prophecy where they said, well, we'll do like Billy Mitchell said?
Right.
That if Billy hadn't said what he said, it would have never happened.
Well, I think he really just saw the rise of Japan as a world power, and that they were going to need to expand at some point into the areas around them. And that's exactly what they did.
Yeah. Wait a minute. I'm looking at this. What is this? There's a really good book about the Battle of Midway, mostly written from the Japanese viewpoint. Well, you get a little bit of their viewpoint in this film. And I'm kind of glad that they weren't afraid to show their brutality.
Yeah.
You know, trying to shoot a guy in the water.
Mm-hmm.
And you hear the officer criticize, we need to get our pilot to stop glory hunting. Mm-hmm. And they just didn't look at life, much less our lives, as important.
Yeah, the
And,
execution with the
they just
anchor,
lose it like,
fucking monstrous.
yeah, it's
This-
really horrible.
This
And
one
they
was,
did it to both guys.
This one was a lot more factually accurate than the 76 version. The 76 version was really a showcase for a whole lot of actors, and the I believe it was the second movie that they used the novelty of sense around on. They had put out Earthquake,
And then Midway,
and then Midway, and so it really, you know, it was really churched up in that version of it. But this one, what I liked about this one,
there were so many problems with it, because you've heard me talk about it, that the whole relationship thing, him dating a Japanese woman, the
didn't
son
we
of the
cover
Admiral,
this
like, oh,
movie
come
on the
man,
show once? I
Yeah,
think
we did.
We did. I had so many
Everybody's
problems with
shitting
that
all over
film.
the
They left
love
so
story.
much. Yeah, and their lack of focus on the shit that happened and the importance of it. This film
Right.
got it all right. And
It was that point
this
to be
is
as
not,
accurate as possible.
if you're looking for a drama, go see something else. This is a war film about an actual battle, trying to capture all these major events that actually did happen. And the drama is in the fact that these guys kept going out knowing what they were facing. These pilots, well, aviators, Navy aviators, and Marines. And because that's who fought in the air over there, was Navy and Marine.
And especially the ground pilots from Midway itself flying outdated aircraft that they knew were nowhere near capable of dealing with the Japanese head on, and they just went up anyway.
Yeah, I just forgot the name of it. The two-man dive bomber. What was that called? The
Dauntless. That was actually an excellent
Dauntless.
aircraft at the time.
It's a very
Devastator.
It's
the
an
torpedo
excellent
bomber.
aircraft, but it's very slow. It's very slow compared to those fighters, and that was where they were always in trouble. And so they had to come up with new ideas of how to use these. And finally, one of them that he comes up with is going straight down, diving at these ships. I was a little surprised they didn't go lengthwise instead of, because like they kept missing with the bombs. Instead of dropping torpedoes, going for bombs. And I was like, my God, go lengthwise of the target. And finally, that ends up what he does, and it leads to 2 hits.
Yeah.
And that last one, my God, that last one, he laid it on that fucking deck.
He almost landed there. Yeah,
that was ballsy.
That was so cool.
Almost killed him because he wanted to make sure it was put on that deck.
Well, you would think that they'd fly that route anyway, just because it would make it easier for them to get their sights in the right place, because they're used to landing all the time. You'd think they'd take that approach. Yeah. Makes sense.
So once again, you know, the use of intelligence in this is really what led to this battle even happening.
My favorite part of the movie. Patrick Wilson's whole story
deception,
arc is my favorite part of the show.
Deception, everything. And the cleverness of Edwin Layton. He was the guy in charge of the mission. He's the one who was they're like, well, you know, we believe, he says, and you know, you've got what's his name, Nimitz, just kind of like going, hey man, we need a little more assurance to this. He goes, at 7:30 on June 4th, they will be at this location. And it's like, okay, man,
and
that's what we needed. Thank you.
And something they bring up that's pretty cool is they needed to be sure of that, because we were putting every single carrier we had in the Pacific Ocean right around that island waiting for them. To one of the biggest feats of naval maintenance effort I've ever seen, of getting Yorktown back in fighting shape in 72 hours. Because the yard chiefs thought she was going to need 6 months in a dry dock to fix all the damage she took at Coral Sea. And basically, Nimitz said, you have 3 days. And when a 5-star
3
Admiral
days,
says,
I don't care if you use wood.
Yeah.
Says, I don't care if you use wood. It launches in 3 days. Exactly. And they have that in the movie, by the way. I love that they have that in the film. They have so much good shit. They even show what is his name? Let me look up here. Hold on. Is it up there? Dennis Quaid's character,
Halsey.
Which Admiral? Halsey.
Halsey.
They show him getting kicked off the ship, being told, "Go get treated for that fucking rash," and finds out it's fucking shingles. They had that in the movie. I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
He must have been miserable.
Yeah, because that's horrible to have. I've had it. My mom suffered from it. She had leukemia, and so she would, like, every once in a while it would just pop up, and it would just break her.
I guess they didn't call him the bull by accident, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what time is it? 17. I guess we can go ahead and start the film strip early if you want to, Martin.
The only thing that suffered for me in this is the guy they put top of the bill. It's hard to see him as a good guy. I just see him as a bad guy every time I see him. It's just really,
Who's that?
The pilot. What's his name?
Luke Evans.
Scrin, or I don't know how.
Luke Evans. I have never heard his normal voice until the making of video on this.
Mm-hmm.
And I went, he's Welsh. And Anima's like, check and see. So I went and checked. He's fucking Welsh. I nailed that fucking accent. I'm like, I recognize that accent. He's Welsh.
Do you want me to
I had no idea.
Do you want me to put the link to the making of in chat, Gerry?
Here, go ahead. What, Joe?
I said, I guess I've seen him too many times as a bad guy. I just, it was hard for me to root for him in the movie. I was rooting for the guys around him more than, except for that jerk that he had the animosity with, who ended up being a tough guy in the end because he went up with a broken back, basically, didn't he?
Pretty much.
Dick Best, yeah. Yeah, his career was over after that battle because he had lung issues.
Yep.
Yeah, he inhaled some bad shit.
I was talking about his rival, the guy
Dick Best,
button heads with.
Dick Best, he damaged his lungs. The one who had the damage in the back was Lindsay, Lieutenant Lindsay.
That's the guy.
Okay.
Yeah, he was a pain in the butt. That's about the only guy around him I didn't like. But the guy he was working with, the bomber pilot, McCluskey, he was awesome. Loved that guy. Thought he was great.
In fact, his name is attached to a special award for aviators and such in the Navy, the McCluskey Award.
Yep.
That's the SOB.
I'm just saying, the guy I was supposed to be rooting for in this movie, I had a hard time rooting for because in most movies I can't stand his character, which is good. I mean, he's a good actor,
Well, what's funny is, he was in a TV series on Apple Plus that my buddy Fahim is a bad guy in. And I hated this show. I felt bad that I hated it because they were commandos. They were supposed to be
Echo 3?
Tier 1 operators. Yeah, that show's
my God, that was bad.
Joe, are you referring to the guy with the mustache or
the guy with the mustache, McCluskey?
Oh, okay.
He was
because
great. He's great.
The other guy no, McCluskey, no. This was yes. Because the other guy, the protagonist yes, the main character. He always does plays bad guys too.
That's who I'm talking about.
Mostly.
That's who I'm talking about.
Both of them play bad guys mostly.
Yeah, but
Yeah, Screen.
This is a Deadpool movie that just made me not want to root for this guy. When he played Francis in the Deadpool movie.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, Francis.
Yeah, right.
He's a good actor.
Yeah, he is a
pull
good
off
actor.
a role that makes you hate him. Did his job.
Yep.
This guy is, in many ways, one of the most heroic in this film. The shit
He's Maverick. He's Maverick. That's what I saw. They painted him as Tom Cruise's Maverick in the middle of World War II. This is what it looked like to me. He's practicing what it's going to be like without flaps and all this stuff. And matter of fact, that's the slide right there where he's trying to.
Well, at the end of the movie, there's the text of the commendation in which they say the commendation literally says for his utter disregard for personal safety.
Personal safety. That's right. Yep. So bad as Gunner didn't want to go with him on the final mission, right? It's like, man, you fly like you're not gonna come home, dude. What the hell?
Well, and McCluskey didn't. At least in the real story, McCluskey led his dive bombers in, and he was, I think, one of the only aircraft that didn't make it out.
Well,
God, I love these scenes on the deck. I really do. How they pulled this off with the lighting just blows my mind.
Yeah, go watch the making of, guys. It's amazing what they did.
So here we go. This is the build up to Pearl Harbor. Here they come right now. This is it. They're preparing for a ceremony on the deck. This is true. And they got strafed and hit by bombs. Oh, it's insane. This kid.
Yeah, that's his buddy from Annapolis, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, Woody Harrelson did do a good job as Nimitz. He was very reserved for once in his life. You know? Yeah.
Yeah, he didn't overplay the role.
No, he didn't. It was very cool. Yeah.
Although he looks an awful lot like my boss, Dale Dye, and I thought they should have just got.
Yeah, he does. With that haircut, I thought the same thing with that white hair. Yeah.
I wish we knew why he didn't give Dale Dye a role.
Now, Anima said, would there be that much fire in these explosions? I said, yeah, these aren't Earth explosions. You're going to have a lot of ordnance on these ships, fuel. So you're going to see a lot of fire with the explosions compared to, and black smoke.
I just never know with Hollywood.
What you would see.
They like to overdo it.
This is really, except for this relationship stuff that they show, and I got to be honest, changing dates, like Bruno Gato, when they show his execution by Anchor, it actually took place almost 6 days later after the battle was over. And he wasn't just thrown over. He was tortured for a day. They tortured him to give up information.
Yeah, the Japanese were real keen to pay back after this.
Well, to this day, they are not telling the whole truth that happened back then in history classes.
Well, they don't even teach it in their schools. They don't teach what they did in China. Nothing. And that bothers me.
Yeah, that number they showed at the end of that movie, 250,000 Chinese they killed because they helped Doolittle?
Slaughtered.
Yeah.
That was just that raid. They
that
killed
is
tens
vicious,
of millions.
Man. Good Lord.
They were monsters.
Like
I love the
I'm
Japanese
not saying anything
people,
out of school,
my
right?
God,
They didn't say
during
that.
World
It was
War II.
like 250,000 people, right?
Yeah. And that was just that one raid that they got payback for. They killed millions overall.
That's crazy.
And they were doing it in ways that there were a couple German observers there because, you know, they were allies. And the things that the Japanese were doing made the Germans uncomfortable.
Now that's hardcore.
Here we go. I'm going to read it to you. While flying. while flying as a gunner on a Douglas SPD Dauntless during the Battle of Midway, Gato was shot down and captured by Imperial Japanese Navy. Gato, along with his pilot, Frank O'Flaherty, were tortured and then thrown overboard to drown by the Japanese. So there you go. And it was said by witnesses, Japanese, who said that he stayed calm and poised the whole time and basically had a fuck you attitude.
He tells him "fuck you" in the movie, and I like.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
I'm surprised Leighton was so reserved. Didn't go in there saying, "I told you so." You know?
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah, they didn't listen to him about Pearl Harbor because he was the other one who predicted it was going to happen. They were building up.
I find it interesting. I find it interesting that we had prior knowledge of both the attacks on our own soil that have happened in history.
Well, people just didn't believe it would happen.
It's crazy.
There's a line of thinking that FDR let Pearl Harbor happen because he was looking for a way to get America into the war because he knew Britain would not last long on their own.
Even though there's zero proof of it, that is out there, and I've heard it.
Yeah,
and
I've heard some
possible
justifications for it, but I don't know if I believe it.
Because we know that after Pearl Harbor, Churchill said, "Yeah, I can finally relax." They're in the fight.
Right?
Which I can only imagine
all in. Yep.
I can only imagine the phone calls back and forth between Japan and Germany on that one because Germany was doing everything in their power to keep us out of the war and keep us neutral. And, then this happens. It's like, oh, yeah, by the way, we bombed Pearl Harbor. I can imagine the German ambassadors be like, "You did what?"
Nice.
Yeah, exactly. That's probably what they would have said.
And then the one that's like, Robin to Batman goes, "Go to war." And so they declared war on us. We never declared war on them.
What are we supposed
to declare
do?
war on Japan either.
Yeah.
Their attack was a declaration of war. So we were at war. We didn't have to go to Congress. A lot of people don't know that. To go to war, you have to have a declaration. Even though we call things wars, if there's no declaration, there was actually officially no war. There was an action. And the last time there was a declaration of war was 1914, right? Or 1917.
We did declare war on Japan the next day, even though we didn't actually have to. I believe.
I don't think we had congressional order. I mean,
wasn't the president?
To my knowledge, the last formal declaration of war where we declared war on someone else was in World War I think.
Wasn't Roosevelt addressing Congress when he gave that famous speech?
Yes, he was.
It will live in infamy. Wasn't he speaking to Congress?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yep.
Because it's one of the few times the president cannot just deploy the military. He actually has to ask Congress for a declaration of war to fully mobilize the military.
Mm-hmm. That's what I thought. I was pretty sure of that. I don't think he was talking from the Oval Office that day. Yeah, see, this is hard for me because I just want to slap him looking at him right now. Which means he does his job well, He's a family man, but he doesn't act like it, He acts very cavalier, like a single person would, throwing caution to the breeze and everything. But hey, that's what made him good at what he does, I mean,
but this old mustache man declared war on us a few days later. Yeah, we were just talking about that, Snore the Poopus.
Yeah,
that the Japanese did what they did, and then going against what they were trying, because they're trying to avoid war with us. And after Pearl Harbor, Churchill side, you know, what is that called? Side, something of relief.
Side of relief.
Because, yeah, sigh of relief. He knew that we were in the war now.
Yeah.
And there was no more hemming and hawing.
That we wouldn't just stay in the Pacific. We would join it on both fronts. Yes, absolutely. I find it interesting.
Yeah, there was no declaration of war against Japan. There was a declaration of war against Germany, but their declaration against us, we're already at war. But he did get a declaration of war from Congress for Germany. I just double checked.
I like the fact that they showed what this is the scene right here where the Japanese commander, that famous quote.
Yep.
I think we've awoken the sleeping giant. Yeah. Only he says it to his wife here. I think in the first one he said it to a
Well, historically they said he wasn't talking to, because it's mentioned in his book.
Mm-hmm.
And it was according to historical records, it was not to anybody in the military or government. It was to his wife.
Yeah.
Because he knew nobody would listen to him. That was the sad thing. He was the only one seeing what madness this was.
Right.
And yet he had to do it. He had to plan it because that was his duty.
Mm-hmm.
And he even called it to the day. He basically said after Pearl Harbor, says, we will dominate the Pacific theater for 6 months, and then the Americans will start rolling us back.
Yeah.
And 6 months to the day after Pearl Harbor was Midway.
Mm-hmm.
Where we annihilated 2/3 of their entire carrier force in the span of 12 hours.
And using several weapons to do it. I love the fact that they showed the submarines in the movie. I thought that was great.
Well, the USS Nautilus actually played a critical role in the battle, because if she hadn't tried to attack the battle fleet on her own and get driven off by a destroyer, that destroyer would not have been out there for Wade McCluskey to follow back to the main fleet.
That's what I was going to ask. Did McCluskey actually do that?
Yes, that actually happened.
That destroyer. Because,
and made the conscious decision to stay up longer than he. And at that point, they knew they were going to have to ditch coming home, because they were at bingo fuel already. So they were just like, well, we either go back and report this, or we go ahead with the attack. And they went ahead with it.
Yeah. Pretty wild. What a great call by him, right?
Yeah.
Oh.
And he personally, I think, was the one that gets credited with the kill on either Kaga or Akagi. I can't remember which. But his direct action killed at least one, if not two, Japanese carriers.
I always find the Pacific Theater, like when we went down to New Orleans to the World War II Museum here at the beginning of May to go meet Christian down there. First place I wanted to go was Pacific Theater because, of course, I served there. You know, I've been to the Arizona Monument and everything. And it's just always been intriguing to me because, of course, it takes guts to go into any war. But, you know, in Europe, it was kind of our own kind of environment. It wasn't a strange environment to us, you know, the hills and the woods of these places. But, my God, like Gerry said at the outset, jungle warfare is a totally different thing do we even have a jungle in the United States? I don't think we do. The closest we probably come to it is right here in my state in the swamps. Probably
either that or Hawaii.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, wow. You know, these guys were going to something that, you get shot down, the chances you get picked up are not good, you know?
Well, the really impressive part about the Pacific War is how many pilots we did actually rescue.
Yeah.
Using both submarines, PT boats, you know, whatever we could.
And PBYs, because that's what my uncle flew PBY in the Pacific.
PBYs, yeah.
And
PBYs.
part of their job, other than sub hunting, was rescues.
Yeah.
These guys that were down.
I think we saw one.
They would do grid patterns.
I can't remember why they showed it. want to say it
well,
was
PBYs were out scouting for the Japanese fleet.
That's okay. That's why they had him in the movie. That's it. Okay. I was wondering because I remember the clouds clearing and them seeing the Japanese surface fleet down there, and I was like, oof, yeah. But yeah, I've always been intrigued with the Pacific, and like I said, mainly because I served there. So yeah.
And it's the only time in human history, really, a country has fought 2 wars simultaneously on opposite sides of the planet and won them both.
Dude, yeah.
Like we were doing.
And what's interesting is, you know, we really did kind of separate the military. We, you know, because it was Army, Air Corps, Army, and a little bit of the Navy. And then over on the other side, a little bit of the Navy, U.S. Marine Corps, and a little bit of the Army, mostly Marine Corps. And they did a lot of the bloodiest fighting in the Pacific. Guadalcanal.
The Navy deserves a lot of credit for that war as well, because we lost an awful lot of sailors.
And ironically, I left out the Coast Guard, because the Coast Guard were the guys that would deliver the Marine Corps to the shore.
That doesn't get talked about a lot.
US
in fact, at the Marine Corps Memorial or the Marine Corps Museum in Quantico, there's a wall with an EGA for every Marine killed on Iwo Jima. And there's a number of Navy corpsmen in there as well. And there's one Coast Guardsman.
Wow.
On that wall.
He put his life on the line to protect the soldiers, the Marines that had just landed. And he put himself between the ship and them, and he got obliterated for it.
Yep. But doing that saved an entire crew of Marines. So.
Well, they don't call these guys the greatest generation for no reason. They, you know, we did things during that war that were amazing.
Well, we don't push upon Americans to deal with things like they should be. You know, it's like I got angry at Bush when he's like, go back to shopping, live your lives, don't worry about it. We got this thing handled. It's like, no. American citizens need to be on a war footing. Yeah. We need to support those soldiers over there. The Marines that are over there. We need to support them.
This was really the last time the American population was involved in a war.
Yeah,
like, it was during Vietnam or whatever. Everybody else was just kind of doing their own thing and heard about it on TV. Here,
you know who was building the bombs and building the guns and everything we used? It was women in manufacturing plants. You know, everybody.
Or guys that were 4F. Yeah, guys that were too old or 4F that stayed back and worked.
Mm-hmm. Rosie the Riveter was.
For those of you that don't know what 4F is, it means that you have an opportunity to get passed medically to join the military. If you get 4 checks on there that are negative, you fail.
Yep.
You can have 3, can't have 4.
Well, I only know this for Germany, but as the war went on and it looked worse and worse for them, even old men and young boys had to go fight.
Yeah.
They didn't care. They just needed everybody who could hold a gun. It was pretty bad.
I just watched a scene where they are taking the Germans. What was that? It's from Fury. And it was one of the better scenes in the film. I had problems with that movie. I really did, with Brad Pitt. But I do like that scene where all of the, they said, let them come out if they're surrendering. All that came out were young kids and old men. And, but there was this one kind of stood out, you know. He says, that one there, that one, pull him aside. Because he could see the insignia on his lapel. And the guy's like, you know, was, you know, and you got my papers, you know, and tells one of the characters, kill him. And he walked over with a Tommy gun, man, just fucking blew him away. Hit him
at that point in the war, we were not playing around. Like, because that was what, March 45? So that was towards the very end of the war. We had already found some of the camps.
This is after D-Day, Battle of the Bulge, and they were done. We are finished with you motherfuckers. We are invading Germany.
And at that point, we had actually discovered evidence of some of the things the Germans had been doing. And after that, we were not so willing to take prisoners among the SS anymore.
Yeah, if you're very, oh man.
If you were SS, you were dead. Period.
We should talk about the movie Fury, and that way I can talk about, like, tracers aren't different colors. That annoys me. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Although it is true, the Germans did use different color tracers than we did.
No. They're showing U.S. tracers different colors. I'm like, no,
oh yeah, that was.
We use phosphorus specific. It burns a specific color, But anyway, the thing I didn't like about the film is they did that one, and there's one scene that pissed me off. And once it pisses me off, I'm in a mood for the rest of the movie. And that's where they're up in that house having dinner with that woman, her daughter.
Yep.
And then what's his name that plays the Punisher says he's gonna RAP her. And when he did that right in front of their commander, that commander would have shot him in real life. He would have dropped him right where he stood.
Pretty much, yeah.
He would not.
The Americans did not tolerate that.
Especially commanders. Tank commanders are badasses. And
even the Soviets, to give them credit, a lot of the guys that were called
twice. The first time, it's a joke. Second time, oh, you mean it? You're gone. And he would have just wasted him right there. And he would have listed him as killed in action.
Yep.
Think that didn't happen? You fucking do shit like that, they'll kill you. That's why I didn't like that movie. Because if they're going to try to be realistic, they just showed what he would have done. He wouldn't have allowed that.
And also, I know they wanted to show the tiger off, but a tiger abandoning its cover and concealment and charging down a Sherman that he had just popped all three of its friends. Really?
One thing I thought
that was kind of goofy.
One thing I thought was interesting about these planes, I did not know. Of course, I don't know the aircraft too well from this period, but I did not know that they had a tail machine gun for the guy in the back. I did not know that.
For which one?
The planes they were using. You guys.
The Dauntless.
Yeah, the Dauntless planes. I did not know.
Oh no, yeah, he was just the gunner. Yeah, okay, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The second spot was technically also a navigator because they have you'll see it in one scene where they put something in over the controls. And what that is where the maps would go.
Right.
And he would also navigate. But the minute they ran into trouble, he'd shift around and fucking grab that machine gun and just open up on the enemy. That was intense in this movie. The aerial combat in this. Oh.
Yeah, it's
I've never seen
one of the best uses of CGI
aerial combat done like they did in this film.
Wow. But I got to ask, how did they keep the machine gun from shooting its rudder on the backside? Was there?
They basically put mechanical limiters in there that prevent the gunner from lowering the gun to the point where it can hit the tail.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's because later on they had trouble early on with the mounted machine guns when they first started doing that, tearing up their own props. And eventually there was a electrical device that connected between the two that made sure that the weapon didn't fire at the prop. So I would say about 95% successful.
Yeah, that was actually the Germans in World War I invented that, the interrupter gear of basically designing a mechanical limiter that would not let you shoot wouldn't let the gun fire when the prop was in front of it. The French, on the other hand, just decided to put a metal plate on the back side of the propeller and hope that would be enough, and it was not.
Well, I would imagine you could get ricochets right back into the pilot with that shit.
Yep, that happened.
That don't make no sense.
And the crazy part is when the weapon stopped working, if you got hit, guys would pull their fucking pistols out and start shooting from plane to plane. And if you know how to lead,
the Red
you can hit a plane.
The Red Baron's first two kills, so the legend goes, were from the back seat of an observation plane with a shotgun. Which
they even mentioned that in the movie. They mentioned that in the movie.
Here comes
you guys know you got to lead these planes?
Here comes one of my favorite ironies. That's why I paused it in this movie, because they're about to go into Doolittle raid, And Doolittle's leading this command, but you know what plane he's flying and that they're taking in there?
The B-25 Mitchell.
Mitchell.
One of my favorite aircraft of all time.
Named after the guy who predicted Pearl Harbor. So,
and ironically, they were naming a bomber, an Army bomber, after one of the guys who founded naval aviation.
Yeah.
Because the aircraft carrier was Billy Mitchell's big thing. Like, he was the one that saw aircraft carriers being important before anyone.
Martin, can you hit play? I can't seem to get it to play. There you go. Thank you.
Yeah,
no, it wasn't me.
They weren't the Air Force yet. They were the Army Air Corps.
Thank you.
I didn't do anything.
The Army Air Corps, and it wasn't okay. Somebody pushed play because it finally started playing.
Maybe you have a delay because of your signal.
Okay,
it's going.
That's a good possibility. So, look at that. Look at that. I mean, it looks like a video game. I admit it, but God damn it, it looks beautiful. I love what they did here.
Well, you know, they got
launching those off an aircraft carrier.
They've got a piece of film at the World War II Museum. All it is like, I want to say, a good 10 minutes of film from that perspective right there, where you see the runway. It's a little bit deeper angle, but yeah, it looks almost exactly like that. You know.
And you just really have the feeling you are on a ship, and even the actors said so. Shooting those scenes, it felt like they were on the carrier. And man, that scene where they are too slow and the first plane barely makes it, and the second plane lands in the water and gets run over. Yeah, that was so hard to watch. I was on the edge of my seat for the whole movie.
They should have built, instead of doing blue screen, they should have built the digital screens around them and done something similar to the round. But going all the length of that ship would have been amazing.
Back projection instead of blue screen? Yeah.
That would have been a hell of a shot.
Instead of blue screen. It still looks great. It really does. But I think that this is one of those moments where doing something similar, it's not the round because it's not round. It's the full length, almost like about 3/4 of a football field. But imagine that, how that would have looked to have that 360 degrees on that ship deck. Even those guys would have been even more immersed into what they were doing. They even had guns on available to them on the deck. I'm like, wow, that's incredible what they did. And again, Anima shared that in the chat if you guys haven't seen it. Yeah, U.S. Army Air Corps was first, Nort, and then mid-war they became U.S. Army Air Force. And then in 1947, in I think August or September of 47, they became just simply the United States Air Force and broke from the Army right after Roswell. Right after Roswell.
Got that in there.
Also, right after Roswell, the CIA was created. Also, right after Roswell, the national law that was put into action stating the U.S. government can even kill a citizen if they believe that they're a threat to security.
What?
The National Security Act. Yeah.
Yep.
Go back and read that shit. Scary as fuck, man. 1947. June was Roswell. And then within 2 months of that, we have the National Security Act, the CIA, and the Air Force breaks from the Army so it doesn't have to share the information that it has.
Coincidence?
The major collector.
Yeah,
I don't think so. All right, enough of my UFO shit. I'm going to be doing that tonight. Don't forget, guys, I'm the co-host of Don Ecker's Dark Matters radio show, which means I'm there for the chuckles. I'm there to make him laugh and make the audience laugh. But,
yeah, that I shouted you.
I'm looking forward to it because I have to do this reading. He sent me a whole document I have to read today. So we're going to be getting into some serious discussion tonight. And again, it's going to involve national security. and UFOs. So yay, that'll be fun. So I love these inner office scenes because my problem with the first film, everything looks like it was shot on a movie set. This could be a movie set, but it looks natural with the way they lit it. And this guy gets murdered later. Smoking him.
Yeah, man.
The Chinese suffered greatly for that.
All raid. Because of that right there. That fucking lighter. He gave that lighter to him.
Yes. They found that.
And I'm glad they put that in this movie because not many things that cover the Doolittle raid talk about what happened after.
It's one of the reasons why the movie is so long. It's over 2 hours long, and
yeah, 2:18.
It's 2 hours and 19 minutes, I think, isn't it? I think it's 2 hours and 19 minutes. And they've got to show you Pearl Harbor and this mission. I think they left out the other one.
Yeah, Coral Sea they didn't talk about, which they kind of should have because that sets up Midway.
Absolutely, because it sets up the Battle of Midway. It really does.
It also talks about us losing our first carrier, Lexington, at Coral Sea, and why Yorktown was so beat up.
It's kind of weird they left it out.
I think they probably just got cut for time because, like you say, the movie's already 2 hours long.
And there's really nothing you could have sacrificed to go into that other topic because they needed all the stuff.
No, this whole movie's pretty tight.
Yeah.
And by the way, I want to point out something. I have said this, and I feel very confident in my sexuality. I consider Patrick Wilson the best-looking actor in Hollywood since the 1930s. The guy is fucking gorgeous looking as a dude.
Yeah, he's a handsome guy.
You can say what you want. You can say what you want. But I'm telling you, if I swung that way, definitely Patrick Wilson.
Thankfully, you're only gay for me.
I'm only gay for you. But first time I saw him years ago, playing a bad guy. He's good at playing a bad guy. Was in the A-Team.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this guy's a good actor. That's a movie we should do sometime too, the A-Team. That'd be fun.
I think I saw him first on Phantom of the Opera.
He is in that, but I didn't notice him. It wasn't until he played the villain in A-Team that he really got on my radar.
D-Bot Martin's questioning you, Gerry.
About what?
If he swung that way.
Oh.
And I like this scene, these scenes in the middle here, because it does drive home the point that Nimitz was essentially betting our entire Pacific War on a pair of fives.
Yep.
He did not have a strong hand in the Pacific, and he was putting it all on the line at Midway.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing at some of the comments in the chat. Questioning my sexuality.
What do you expect? You're handing it to them.
Atsushi Toyokawa plays the part of Yamamoto, and he does a really good job in this film. We don't need to see a lot of scenes with the Japanese for this movie, but I believe that they did a tremendously good job depicting it. And by the way, that's the guessing guy right there. That's a guy that puts shit together, walking around in slippers and a fucking robe.
Yeah.
Well, it gets cold down here.
Yeah.
But if you read enough, explain the oh, never mind. The Japanese had only 4 carriers at Midway. Okay. Because 2 had been worked over at Coral Sea. Shikaku was damaged and needed repair. Zokaku Air Group was devastated. Yeah, so they were kind of already limping a little bit.
Well,
say the least.
I mean, that was he's correct there. That's the only reason we weren't facing against the entire Kita Butai, all 6 carriers at Midway, because they were putting everything they had at it.
By the way, in one of the scenes, you won't recognize him. Anima didn't even notice him at first. David
because
Hewitt
I wasn't looking.
Stargate Atlantis.
I always recognize him. I
scenes.
love the guy. I love that guy. I go in chat when he live streams when I catch it, and then I troll him, and he really likes that. He yelled at me because I wasn't in the chat for months, and then I showed up and said something really snarky, and he was like, Anima, where have you been? How dare you come in like that?
Well, what you need to do is tell him that he needs to let me interview him. You need to let my boyfriend interview you.
Oh, that would be great. I mean, he did come on the Salty Nerd stream a couple of times.
Yeah, so I need you to do that. You're the one that'll do it.
I can try.
Another character actor in this film that I do like, been in a lot of stuff. I mean, he was in U571, if you ever saw that. He was in Meet Joe Black. He was in Dawn of the Dead, is Jake Weber. And he did a really good job in this film. And it plays Raymond Spruance in this film. I think he's a captain.
Rear Admiral, I think, at this time.
Is he?
Yeah.
I just remember he's in command of the boat.
Well, I think he was promoted at right before this battle to Rear Admiral because he was going to be in command of the entire task force.
Hello.
Yep. I'm still here. I think Gerry might have crashed.
No, I'm reading
something
right now. Figured you guys could talk without me. He was he was in command of Task Force 16 for the Battle of Midway.
Yeah, which would have been the entire carrier task force.
So he'd at least be an admiral, right?
Yeah, at least temporarily. They did that a lot during the war, where they'd promote guys to the rank they needed to basically to be in command of the things they were put in charge of.
Wartime commissions, go.
Yep.
Yeah, I did like that they showed that. That was cool. Another thing that's if they wanted to add a little more realism to this, they should have had more cigarettes in guys' mouths.
Yeah.
There was some serious smoking going on.
Everybody.
I'm going to pause for a second just so you can read this. Here you go. The screenplay for Midway was written by Navy veteran Wes Tooke, and each scene was carefully monitored to ensure its historical accuracy. Retired Navy Admiral Sam Cox commented, despite some of the Hollywood aspects, this is still the most realistic movie about naval combat ever made. It does real credit to the courage and sacrifices of those who fought in the battle on both sides. That was a little politically correct ending, but there you go.
There you go.
Yep.
And they did. They didn't overpower us with the Japanese perspective, but I did like the stuff they showed us. I did like that. You know, they were shying away.
It would have been easier to find the fucking subtitles. I was fighting watching that movie, switching between two different pages because
we're watching on two different locations because one had the subtitles for the Japanese.
But it quit playing all the time.
Oh man,
it was exhausting.
I imagine.
You should have asked me for it.
Yeah, let's not go OneDrive, okay? Hate that fucking thing.
By the way, another actor that's in there, and he's almost unrecognizable, playing Ernest King is Mark Ralston.
Yeah,
Yep.
I forgot he's in this.
You know, you remember him from Aliens. God, he's in so many fucking shows and movies. Good actor.
Aliens, Babylon 5, I think Supernatural. He was the voice of Captain Del Rio in Halo 4.
Here's Nimitz kicking Halsey off the ship.
We just watched. He's also in The Departed, which we just watched recently. Shawshank
he was
Redemption. He's one of the security guards. What? Martin,
I don't know. Oh, yeah.
you said something. I was talking and you talked over me, and I didn't hear what you said.
No.
Yes, you did, and I wanted to know what you said. We're talking about Mark Ralston.
Yeah, I named the roles that I remember, and that's it.
Okay, because right when I brought up Shawshank Redemption, where he right when I said he was in Shawshank Redemption playing one of the security guards, you said something at the same time.
No, I maybe say something like because I don't remember.
I didn't want to miss what you said.
Oh.
All right. Oh, here we go. They're working on the ship. Here we go. This is the big scene.
Yeah.
You're gonna fucking have this ready to go. I don't care if you
got
use
3 days.
wood. We're leaving in 3 days with this ship. And that guy is like, fuck. That look on his face when he leaves. He's like,
yeah,
fuck.
Kind of like in Return of the Jedi.
Because we were down to 3 carriers then, right?
Yeah, we had Hornet, Enterprise, and Yorktown, and that was it.
And of course, we lose Yorktown.
And Ranger were in the Atlantic.
Yep. And it's pure luck that they weren't at Pearl.
In fact, Enterprise was coming back that day.
Oh.
She was on her way back from Wake Island when the attack happened, and she was actually the only American carrier to get planes up that day. And in fact, a couple of them got shot down.
That's not what I heard. I heard, Pope, that they did a slingshot around the sun and went back in time. And then that's why they were late getting there.
We're not allowed to talk about that.
No, that was the bounty.
That's the bounty.
The bounty.
The Enterprise did it twice, too, on the original series. Going back in time.
They didn't slingshot. They did it all with intermix.
Is it the Nimitz or the Enterprise that's in Final Countdown too?
The Enterprise.
Nimitz. No, the Nimitz.
It's the Nimitz. Yeah. Okay.
Somebody asked somebody of that of the past asked them how can exist this carrier with the name of an admiral that is still alive.
Yeah. Right. Have you guys done that movie, Gary?
Nope.
Which
the
one?
Final Countdown?
The Final Countdown. No, we haven't done
Kirk Douglas, man. That's a cool movie.
No.
Man.
The whole concept of going back in time and having modern fighters to fight at Pearl Harbor. That's crazy shit, man.
It's awesome. I love that movie. I thought it was great.
I like the fact that they didn't affect any change.
No.
Yeah, it was not my favorite. It's my buddy Mike's favorite form of fiction that he loved to read was alternate history stories where people would travel back in time and be able to help fight a battle. And he just told me his whole list of books and this one author that's all he ever wrote. And I'm like, man, I can do it every once in a while, but fuck that. You know, that's crazy wanting to like do that all the time. But it gets exciting because there was a book that came out when I was younger where modern military soldiers end up going back to the Civil War or Revolutionary. I can't remember which one it was. But I just remember reading it when I was younger. Don't remember much about it. I just remember reading it in the library. I read a lot of books and I forget a lot of shit. So, but I do remember that book. Look at this. I'm telling you.
It's amazing, man. It's amazing. They did such a great job with the CGI in this movie. I was really impressed. I really was. It's just amazing.
And Emmerich, you know. Oh yeah, here we go. That's John Ford right there. Director. Yeah. This is before he lost his eye. He actually lost his eye on a ship during this battle. But it was not an injury from combat. It was an injury from, I think he hit something. It hit his eye and it got infected and he lost his eye.
Yeah, with him, I always can't decide, is he crazy or ballsy? Because what he did
was ballsy, period. He was a son of a bitch. He was surly as you get. They depict him in that movie, Steven Spielberg's biopic about his family and him.
Hey, Dragon Roos is in the house.
Hey, Dragon Roos.
Hey, Dragon Roos. And Burner is here too, and Cam's Crash Course is here too. Good to see everybody.
Was here. He says he has to go.
Lady Gulf would be an interesting one. It would be a weird movie to film though, because it was happening on like 3 different fronts with 3 different fleets all at the same time.
Which one?
Lady Gulf off of the Philippines in 44.
I love the use. They finally show ACAC guns. I tell people all the time these anti-aircraft guns were, you know, God, they would just litter the sky with these what looked like little puffs of black smoke. But every single time one went off, it would send shrapnel.
Yes, absolutely,
and hit those planes. This moment here, really, if you're American, it pisses you off. It's like he was trying to hit us. No American has that kind of courage. Like, fuck you.
Yeah, I'm not American and I went, you asshole, when we watched that.
Well, that's what they thought of us. They thought we were a nation full of cowards.
Of everybody. They thought they were superior to everybody else on this planet. And that's what
they still think that.
Well, it did kick them in the ass.
Yeah, that's a great line.
Yeah.
It's a great line.
Yep.
But these scenes, you know, I think they are important because they help set up things and it shows their response to what was happening in this battle. And I think it's important to know rather than treat them as a faceless enemy.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to tell you, they did face their deaths with a lot of courage.
Yep.
There's a scene when one of the commanding officers goes below deck to see just how bad it is. And he just looks at it and he knows this is it. And then we cut away as he's just standing there looking calm. He's very calm.
Everything is on fire.
Concerned, but calm. And then you just see the entire ship from aft to stern just explode slowly across.
Now, part of that was because they were in the middle of moving ordnance, trying to change the attack plan, weren't they?
Yeah, they were rearming their ships or their planes to go after the American fleet rather than Midway.
Yeah, there was ordnance and fuel, tons of fuel on that ship, and it's a cascading explosion. It was beautiful. I just think that they did such a great job. You know, people can talk shit about this film, and it's like, oh, Hollywood critics didn't like it. Wonder why? Wonder why?
When I saw that,
Americans fighting.
When I saw Roland Emmerich's name first thing when the credits rolled, I said, okay, no wonder this is such a good movie. I love the guy's movies.
And he's a fucking kraut, for God's sakes, writing a pro-American movie. I love it. Yeah.
Well, I mean, one of his biggest pro-American movies is The Patriot with Mel Gibson. That's one of the that's on my Independence Day list every year. It's the first movie I watch.
I can't watch it. I can't watch it. I'll tell you why. I'll give you the exact reason. as much as I loved most of that film,
Mm-hmm.
they just kept murdering his kids, and they went one son too many. And I'm like, come on, stop it.
Yeah.
Stop killing his kids. What is the point of this in the movie?
Mm-hmm.
It's sort of like why I'm not a big fan of Armageddon with Bruce Willis.
Yeah.
Because they had to show him die 3 times.
Right.
They gave you 3 big emotional moments. And I got mad at the second one. I went, okay, I've already gone through this. I got emotional. And then they did it a 3rd time with his daughter. And I went, that's it.
Yeah, the part with his daughter was overboard, if you ask me, man. It really was.
That should have all been done one time.
Yeah.
Yeah, these guys they just showing the torpedo squadrons. The Devastator was just an old design. It was not meant to, or was not able to really do much. And unfortunately, almost every one of those torpedo pilots died.
But there's
none of them came back. I don't think any of them made it back.
I think one plane out of 3 squadrons actually made it back.
Wow.
I don't recall seeing anybody survive. Sorry, Joe, go ahead.
No, it's okay. I was just going to finish up the Roland Emmerich thing. There's very few directors can handle epic stories on grand scales, and he's one of them. I mean, all the way back to Independence Day, he does a great job with stuff. He really does. He's not Steven Spielberg, but man, he can bring up emotions pretty easily. He's really good at it.
And he's worked with Dennis Quaid before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He did that the winter where Day After Tomorrow. Good film. Yeah. Actually, I like that film.
Yeah, actually,
a story arc about a father and son.
Right. In the middle of a global catastrophe. That one was actually based on The Coming Global Superstorm by Art Bell and that climatologist. I can't remember his name. But that's some of the source material. They just condensed it down to like a week. In the book, it takes... I bought the book after I saw the movie, and it takes years for that to happen. But they condensed it down to a week in the film for dramatic purposes, you know. And, of course, they got the Dick Cheney character in there, you know, the vice president, you know, in charge of Halliburton.
Welcome to Walmart. Kind of go fuck yourself. I've always said if he doesn't play the penguin, he needs to be a Walmart greeter. Dick
right.
Cheney. Welcome to Walmart. Go fuck yourself.
But yeah, Roland Emmerich's a really good director, man. I enjoy his
stuff.
I'm
conservative, and I fucking hate that guy, Joe. I really do. I cannot stand Dick Cheney.
I know. Oh, dude, he's one of the most evil human beings that's ever walked this planet.
Look at that shot. God, that was a gorgeous shot.
Mm-hmm. But you know that's who the vice president was supposed to be in that movie, right?
Oh, yeah.
You know that's him. Yeah. Yeah, this is amazing. I mean, after seeing this movie, you get the actual perspective of a dive bomber going at one of these things with guns.
This is it.
This is. I mean, good Lord. How could you fly?
They are going into a tunnel of rounds. And here's the scary part. Those tracers are like every 3rd or 4th round. So they're rounds you're not seeing.
You're not seeing 3/4 of the bullets that are flying. That's crazy, man.
And some of these fighters and these dive bombers were like just covered in bullet holes.
Yeah, these things were tough.
And how they survived. It's unbelievable. The Dauntless is one of my favorite planes. And you can fit like a Hellcat P-40. This is how big that fucking plane is. Almost all of our fucking fighters from World War II would fit inside the shape of the Dauntless.
It had to be huge. It's carrying a 5,000-pound bomb, isn't it?
Yeah, well, one 1,000-pound bomb and a couple 250s on the wing. So this thing could haul.
God, man.
Yeah, and that's amazing because you and I know what that means. Most of the time you see 30 caliber, but fucking 50 cals on the wings.
That's yeah.
My God, those wings had to be strong.
Oh yeah.
And you can feel it when you fire it. They're out there. You're feeling it in the cockpit every round.
Mm-hmm.
Look at all that flash. Look at that.
Like the P-47 had 8 of them.
These people sure had balls of
I love
steel.
that fighter. It's one of my favorite fighters. Yeah, we just talked about it last week. The P-40, man. Great fighter.
P-40 is a great little aircraft. Tough as nails, too.
It was outdone eventually by really the fastest aircraft we made that was just short of being as fast as a jet fighter, and that was a P-51 Mustang. That beast
is that fast. The one? Is that the one that the Baba Black Sheep was flying?
No, that was the Corsair.
That was the F4U Corsair. The P-51 was used mostly in the European campaign, and it was the airplane pretty much designed to deal with the Messerschmitt because they were fast, and we kicked the shit out of the Germans with the P-51, which is why they had to eventually build the first jet fighter.
Look at that view they're looking at. That's crazy.
That's what they were flying in.
Bullets, dude.
Insane.
And like you say, the sheer balls
and
on
he's
these
just
guys to just dive over and just go for it.
Flying at the ships they were fired at from. Getting so close. Crazy.
So one did survive. Okay. Thanks, Snortopoopas. Right there.
It's a different breed, man. I don't, I believe in our military, but, some of the things we saw during World War II, I don't know that we'll ever see again. Guys just hanging out.
The thing I got to say about the 76 film Cam is it lacks the combat, 1. 2, that stupid story about the son and his Japanese girlfriend was such bullshit. It just didn't belong in that film.
Yeah.
Look at these. I love the way they're showing the tracers.
Mm-hmm.
I have to talk to the Dyes today, Julie and Dale, and I'm going to be embarrassed to talk about this film because he didn't get hired for this film. He should have. I think it would have been even better if they had hired him.
Yeah.
He has more charisma than the dude who got the role.
No, I'm talking about as the military advisor too.
Oh, that too, yeah.
I think he would have gone even further into the realism. But these aerial shots, like that one, that's incredible to see. These are things you'll never see in other movies. These aerial shots of the ships, which is the perspective of these pilots, aviators. Navy doesn't have pilots; they have aviators, and I always got to remind myself that.
That
they don't like being called
gorgeous too.
Yeah,
I think it's a Akagi going up.
Look at that!
Wow, I mean,
look at that one. Look at that.
We've seen file footage of this stuff, and to see it actually come to life on the screen is just something else, man. Yeah, I mean, we've seen plenty of file footage of dogfights and these ships after they've been attacked with smoke rolling off of them and flames and stuff. We've seen it all, but we haven't seen it in motion, in real time. And he really brought it to life in this flick. It's like I told you when we first started talking about it, best use of CGI I've seen in a war film ever. It's awesome. It really is.
Yeah. And once again, I want to point out that I consider this a superior film to the 76 film. Not for the acting, because again, I agree with you. Stellar cast.
Oh yeah.
I mean, Henry Fonda, for God's sake.
Everybody in Hollywood.
Although I do make fun of the fact that they have Toshiro Mifune in the film and they dub him with an American actor.
They do.
That was so weird. That was one of our big complaints with that movie.
Insulting.
Yeah.
It's like you have the greatest Japanese actor of all time, and you're going to do that to him.
Yeah.
He was the Gary Cooper, John Wayne, and Spencer Tracy of Japan. He could do anything that they could do except comedy. He couldn't do comedy. You could be funny around him, but you could not get him to do that kind of. This is it right here. They're like, tell us this information. You know,
How
we'll
about
take a
fuck
smoke,
you?
cigarette.
He asks for a cigarette first, and then he tells him to fuck himself.
And like I said, this actually took place 6 days later on the 15th. And this is where he tells him to go fuck himself.
Yeah.
It's okay that they took a shortcut here, I think.
I think they would have thrown the anchor over first and had him pull him over, is how I think they would have done it. They're doing it kind of backwards here.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's important is
Dabney
that
he had a bit part.
that we see how calm he stays. He knows he's dead, as does his buddy, and they stay so calm, not giving up any information.
If you throw the anchor first, he could die hitting the deck before getting into
Yeah.
the water.
True.
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 Yeah, but if they throw the guys first and then the anchor could hit them because the ship is moving.
It's also true.
Probably it's moving.
Yeah, but they want him to drown.
Yeah.
Here's the guy, Lindsay.
I like this line. That looked like some cowboy shit.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, if you can't beat him,
There he is. With that haircut, it doesn't even look like him. That's Jake Weber. Very good actor.
Yep. Yeah, I'd have to say after seeing both of them, I like this one better. But it's just for the actual presentation of the warfare. I think I like the cast better than the other one. But
I mean, my God, almost majority of the cast of that film were all actual combat veterans.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Something you just don't see in Hollywood anymore.
And we grew up watching them too. That's the thing, you know. I mean, I grew up watching Charlton Heston and Henry Fonda and all that bunch, man. You know.
I had a tooth pulled that day when that movie came out, and to cheer me up because I was hurting, my jaw was hurting. My dad took me to go see that movie, Midway. It was so cool because the seats were vibrating. Seats were vibrating. Mm.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Sensorama.
Dude, that's what I remember about that movie. The friggin' dog fights were so loud, man. Good Lord. Oof.
I think what Joe wanted to say is only somebody as crazy as you and your dad would regard this as
no,
to make you feel better. He takes you to see a war movie.
No, his dad took him to.
He knows I like war movies.
Yeah, my dad took me.
Well, he knew I wanted to see this one, not this one, but the original Midway.
You were also always
Jaws
fucked with me,
dude. Jaws fucked with me, dude.
My dad took me to see Jaws 2 after I had a big blood blister pulled out of my ear.
Yeah.
Just to make me feel better.
I was already terrified of sharks, and I lived in Florida briefly, and it was a nightmare. I hated that fucking place. And I cried until Dad moved us back to Phoenix.
Get me back on dry.
Sharks, man. So then, he took me to see Jaws, and we had to go do laundry later that evening, and it flooded the laundry room, and the floor was painted dark gray. So it just freaked me out. And I said, I'm not going in there. We got to go in there to unclog it. And I'm like, you go in there. I'm not going in there. Why? Jaws is in there.
Jaws is in there. Coming to get me.
Jaws is hiding and wants to eat me. I was such a stupid kid. Look at these.
When we went and saw the original, Jaws, my brother was, let's see, what was that, 75? I was 10. My brother was 8. And my dad brings us in, and we showed up late, right when that girl was getting thrashed all over the fucking place in the dark. And my brother was like, we're not going to see this movie. And my dad had him by the hand and said, yes, we are. Get in here and sit down. My brother was traumatized by that flick as a kid. realistic violence, he still has a hard time watching.
Yeah, that's another problem. Is his character is fictional. That's like John Wayne in the Green Berets. Even though he's based on a real character, he was not there in that story.
Mm-hmm.
That was something Wayne added in. So yeah, Jaws was like the first summer blockbuster in 75. Rocky was in 76, and then Star Wars Close Encounters were 77. And by the time that Close Encounters hit, that was it. Hollywood understood we're going to make more summer blockbusters.
Kids are out of school.
And that's what they did.
We're making money. Yep.
Whole family's going.
Yep.
I love those those leather caps, man. Those Flyers caps.
Yep.
God, they look so comfortable.
Look at that shot, man. That's kick-ass. Wow. How'd they do the lighting? Did they just have a big light at the end of the thing or something? What? The lighting.
Are you talking about?
Yeah.
All of it's artificial.
Yeah.
Yeah, all of it's artificial and used. Most likely, they use the large light for the main focus.
The sunbeam.
That act as the sun.
Yeah.
But they also did a lot of side lighting on them to match it on the characters, so you'd see that whiter color. Because that's the problem with CG. Is CG has trouble with light. It really does. But if you light the characters correctly, they look realistic, and your attention is drawn away from the sky. Like right there, the sky is clearly artificial.
Mm-hmm.
And they're using a low level.
Here he comes. Just like when he was practicing in the movie, right?
They had given up and thought he was dead. Yep, they thought he was dead. Here he comes. God damn it, Dick Best. I guess his dick is best. I don't know. Somebody's is. Real footage was jarring to me because the plane types were constantly changing and some of them weren't in service as Midway. No, that was the problem with those movies, is they relied on what they had available to them. Plus, they used a lot of stock footage that from Pearl Harbor movie.
A lot of the dogfight footage was stock footage, yeah. Pilot cams and shit like that. Yeah.
These are more accurate to how the battles happen. And I believe he's the one that goes below deck and is standing there when the ship explodes.
Well, also what worked for them is that they could just build the planes that they needed. They didn't have to rely on existing ones, because some of them, you don't have them anymore. Or there's just a couple of planes all over the planet.
Because they weren't worried about
they built what they needed.
They were props. Built to look as realistic as possible without functioning. And the ones that the fighters were on the hydraulic arm. It's what do you call it? Not a jib, but a pylon. And it would move the plane. And they would film the pilot doing the movement. So, the actor was actually feeling the movement of the plane as it's doing the shit. It's fucking cool what they did.
Really go
watch that video. Share it again. Share it again, Anima.
Sure.
They did a fantastic job on the effects for this movie. Just really just got it right.
Now, why did they sink this ship? They didn't want the Americans getting the technology? Is that what it is?
That was common. If a ship was badly damaged enough that they'd had to abandon her, they would sink it rather than leave it for the enemy.
Okay.
They did the same thing to the Bismarck, because they didn't want Britain parading her as a propaganda victory of, hey, look what we got.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's commonplace to scuttle ships.
In fact, that's what happened was supposed to happen to Yorktown after the battle. She was beat up to the point where they were pretty sure she was going to sink on her own, but Unfortunately, a Japanese submarine actually found her under tow and hit her with another pair of torpedoes.
All right, I pinned your message, Anima.
Thank you.
So it's pinned at the top of the chat. So if you guys look up there, there is a pinned link. You can watch the making of this film. It's really fun to watch. I enjoyed it.
Me too.
It's always really cool to see how they make some of these things happen.
Absolutely. I love behind the scenes stuff. Also because you hear the actors talk with the actual voice and accent. That's always fascinating.
There he is. Goddamn shingles. Yamamoto was shot down and killed in the Solomon Islands in 1943. True story.
By one of my favorite aircraft, the P-38 Lightning.
This is the tragic story of that Chinese.
250,000 people. No
Of course,
wonder
he's fictional, by the way. They did that as an example. Because there were people that put their lives on the line to save all those Americans. Because we didn't have enough fuel to get back, is why that happened, if you didn't know that. They had enough to fly the mission, and then they would have to ground in China or crash in the sea. And they had to rely on the locals. And they would, I remember they had to carry a sheet with them or have like a certain phrase you had to learn.
Yeah.
And I love that mumble when the guy goes, "You bum Japan?" He goes, "Yes." And then he's like, he wanted to kill him a second before. Yep. He's threatened to kill him a second before. And then it's like, "Wait, you bum Japan?" He's like, "Yeah, shake your hand." And I'm like, "Oh, man."
He sounds so proud. He sounds so proud. He says, "Yes, I'm American. I bombed Japan yesterday." Like, I did something good.
I love this scene here, even though I don't think this happened either. I still love that moment. When the Grafspee was scuttled in shallow water at Montevideo in 1939, the British got aboard her to examine what they could, including her radar. That's interesting. Yeah. That's why you scuttle your ships when you can.
Yep.
A lot of people don't know it, that the only reason our enemies got a hold of the tail rudder of that fucking Black Hawk helicopter was because when they were going to scuttle it, it broke off and fell on the other side of the wall.
Damn.
There was no time because they had to go.
Yep.
Richard Dick Best. There's the real dude.
Utter disregard for personal safety. Wow.
Well, I mean, I think that pretty much applies to every one of those dive bomber pilots. There was no personal safety involved in that job.
Sounds like if he didn't have the lung problem, he probably would have been a test pilot. Yeah. Probably ended up being an astronaut at some point.
He couldn't fly again, ever.
Yep.
I would have killed him.
And
now, what was it he breathed in, guys?
The thing that impresses.
I forgot.
What's that?
Something was wrong with his oxygen. There was something.
What did he breathe in that messed up his lungs?
I don't know.
He says it in the end.
He inhaled something. So,
no, what he says. So okay, but he says to his wife, it's a joke that he said that he was inhaling caustic soda because that would have liquefied him at the first breath.
Yeah,
it was a bad mix of on his oxygen.
Yeah, the guy with him in the plane wanted them to go back and fix it, and he was like, "No fucking way, we're doing this," knowing he would damage his lungs.
Yep.
Yeah, so this is a far more accurate, far more realistic, far more beautiful film than the original Midway. I think that's why I put this movie off. I got to be honest with you, because I had opportunity to watch this many times, and I put it off time and time again because I was afraid I was going to really like it. And I love the original Midway film, despite its flaws. But when I sat and watched this, I'm like, this is a superior film.
Wow.
It's more accurate. That's the most important thing to me, is the accuracy. And does it honor those men and women who served? You know, it's always the top of my head. First thing I think about, does it honor them or does it dishonor them? That's why I don't like the film. What do they call that? Brian De Palma made it. Michael J. Fox.
Tigerland or whatever.
No, not Tigerland. I like
the one about
that,
fragging. Yeah.
Casualties of War.
Casualties of War. Thank you.
It's
I felt like they already told this story in Platoon, but you want to go there again because you want to focus on American Soldier Bad. And it's like, well, it made one character a hero. Yeah, the guy that's got to turn him in, you know. And but you're making it sound like this happens all the time, and that it was every soldier was like this, and it's not true. It's like 5% of, when you look at the military, is nothing more than a microcosm of society as itself. You get the same number of criminals in it, same number of nice people walking down the street, you know. So hating on the military is like hating on society, period. So fuck people like that. I don't have time for them. Caustic soda was used to scrub carbon dioxide from the oxygen system. When the graphs speak, oh yeah, I read that one. So, all right. So, any last thoughts on this film? What do you guys think?
Blown away by the
Did you give it a pretty
CGI in it. That's what I walk away from it. At that, and I like the intelligence factor of it. And in other words, the work of the intelligence agency in the military. I thought that was awesome. I really did. Because we all know.
Let's give it a score.
We were warned about, Pearl Harbor and didn't act on it, and they actually showed one of the guys that warned us, and I thought that was cool. Yeah.
Well, he's one of the main characters. That's Patrick Wilson's character. Mm-hmm. His character really did. The real person really did warn this is going to happen. Mm-hmm. I would like to give something here and start something on this show that we do on Toxic Tuesday as well, which is give a score. So the scoring on here would be based on the quality of the military action in it, if it's realistic, score on that one, score on the acting, and maybe score on the overall film. So 3 scores. And again, it would be typically 1 out of 10 stars or whatever you want to call it. Hand grenades.
Hand grenades.
So, yeah, I give that one 5 hand grenades. That's all it needed.
There you go.
No, but let's go with stars because we have those in the military. So you have that for rank. Once you hit general or in the Navy, Admiral, you start getting stars. Marine Corps, same thing, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
But I can't remember. Do you have generals?
Yes.
You have generals. Yeah.
The commandant's a 4-star. So yeah.
Yeah, commandant. So let's start with Anima. What score would you give that for the military aspect of the film? 1 out of 10.
9.5, I'd say. They really made sure to be as accurate as possible.
No halves. No halvesies. We just 9 or 10.
Come on.
So
then it's a 9. There's always something that can be done better. They really were almost perfect.
I'd like to get it up from the audience too, what your scores would be for this film. So what would you give it on the acting?
8.
9 and 8. What would you give it on the overall film?
That's a 10. if that makes sense.
Sure.
Because it was such an enjoyable watch, and I'm usually the first to bitch when a movie is over 2 hours, but at no point did it feel long or slow.
So outstanding, good review. Joe, what would you give it for the military aspect?
Military aspect, I'd give it an 8. Of course, it's CGI. They did a real good job with it and everything, but I don't think you'll ever get the total accuracy of it. But that's
the total realism of it.
Yeah. But
maybe when we're dead, they'll get that accuracy.
Right.
8.
Yeah.
What would you give it on the acting?
8 grenades. The acting, I give it 7 grenades. There was one part. Well, I told you about the main character. I just struggle seeing him as a good guy. But it's just the casting there. But the rest of it was good. There was one part that really threw me off. I don't know if it was the way she delivered the line or what, but it was his wife when she went to that meeting of the other women that were waiting on word, and she said she was going to go powder her nose real quick, but that's not what she said. The exact line, I don't know what it is, but it sounded completely like something somebody would not say, and it just threw me off. So I have to give it a 7 on the acting. But as far as overall, I give it an 8. That was a very enjoyable watch. I'm so like you, enjoyed 8, the hell out of the first one. Yeah. Like you,
8,
I
7,
enjoyed
and 8.
The first one, and this was, I was expecting a letdown, and it didn't let me down at all. I thought it was really good. Yeah.
The reason I was avoiding because I knew I'd end up liking it. So, Pope, what do you give for the military aspect score?
On the military aspect, I'll give him a 9 on it because, like Joe says, you're never going to get it completely right, not without traumatizing the audience anyway.
Right.
Right.
But these guys did a damn good job of it with what they had to work with. So I'll give them a solid 9 on that one. Acting, I'll give them a 7 as well because there are a couple things that kind of threw me off, but overall, pretty well done. And then overall, I think I'd give this movie an 8. 8 backdoors out of 10.
Grenades, son, grenades.
It's a grenade. All right.
I think Dragon Rose wants to piss you off, Gerry.
Martin. What?
Dragon Rose wants to piss you off.
Dragon Rose is using fractions.
Using decimals, man.
Oh,
you can tell Dragon's not from Europe. He's not throwing a comma in there instead of a decimal.
As he should.
Europeans and their fucking.
The point is for high numbers, like 10,000.
God damn it! I say we go to war with Europe again. This time to force them to use the decimal. So
we'll have a pillow fight. Okay?
Martin,
we'll have a pillow fight over this.
Martin, what is your pillow fight? Martin, what's your score on this one? What do you think of the military aspect?
I would give it a 9. I like to see the tracers in a straight line because mostly when I see this, I've seen footage from the actual events, and when those machine guns are rocking the plane, the tracers get captured in the film like they were trembling, and it was a nice touch seeing them in the way that they should be seen from an outsider's perspective. The combat was excellent, man. I love that scene in which Bess is diving, and at some his gunner cannot tell him the altitude because the gunner is busy fighting the other Zeros, and he's diving. He doesn't know his altitude, and there's a point in which the flag doesn't even let him see the deck of the carrier he's going to bomb. So he doesn't know if he's gonna eat the deck or not. That was awesome.
Yeah, right when he's going through that smoke, you're like, he's like, oh shit. I hope I don't
pull up, dude.
I crash. Yeah, it's a tense scene. So you give it a good score on 9 on the military.
9.
What do you give it on the acting?
The acting,
what do you?
I would go with an 8. I think it could have been better, but
I suspect you had the same problem. Yeah.
I'm blaming the director, not the actors, because I have seen them perform slightly better. But overall, I'm going with 7.
That's a shot across Roland Emmerich's bow right there. Oh. So you give that one an 8. Okay, so what do you give the overall film?
7.
So a 9, 8, and a 7.
8-7.
Okay. So 9, 8, 7.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
That's a good score.
Boom.
So I'm going to go ahead and give my score now. My score would absolutely be, I'd give it a 10 if it weren't for the video game aspect look of some of the aerial footage. Still love it. I still fucking love it. But I believe you've gotten more realistic aerial stuff from video games.
Yes,
it's just a diminished. So I would not give it a 10. I would definitely give it a 9. I would give it close to about probably a 7 because I had problems with some of the scenes and the acting in it. I thought it was weak. I hate saying this. The women were weak in the film. And
true.
I felt like they had they needed to stand out in the film if they're going to show those scenes. So I felt like they were kind of letdown moments. They just didn't really tell me or give me anything. So I walked away with that one going, if it weren't for those scenes, I'd probably give it an 8 or a 9 on the acting. But I'm going to knock it down to a 7 because I agree with Pope on that. And then for the overall film, I would give it close to a 9 because I think it's a near perfect film.
No.
Not perfect film. Near perfect.
Not decimals. Not decimals. It's either an 8 or a 9. You said near 9.
You said near 9, which means it's 8 point something.
Oh.
It's either a 9 or it's
what I was trying to emphasize is not the number so much, is just simply that it's near perfect is what I said. And I would give it a 9 because it was so near to a 10. But it's just a 9.
It's funny you mentioned
and I give
the
it
women
so
in the acting
9,
portion.
7, 9.
It's funny you mentioned the women in the acting portion. I really think that the girl that played his wife really could have done better. The pilot's wife, I'm talking about.
Yes, the only wife we saw.
Right. The part where the kid's out there playing and she sees all that stuff going on and she's just calmly telling her to come inside. That girl would have been screaming and running after that kid. It was very subdued to me. The whole thing with that girl was totally off. It was. I don't know if it was miscasting or he just didn't pay attention to those parts as much as he did the rest of it. But yeah, it was kind of weird.
Well, I can tell you that overall, we've pretty much agreed across the board to the point averaged out. It would be about a 9 overall for the military aspect of it. And overall for the film, I think the average would be about an 8. And with the average of the acting, I think it would still end up at an 8. So it's 988 overall score.
That's pretty
I'm
good.
curious what some of the people in the audience thought, or other than Dragoners with their decimals.
Snortapupus gave it 4 out of 5.
Out of 5.
So 8.
Okay.
An 8.
So that's an 8.
So, CGI, not too many Wildcats shown. Let's see.
Sorry. Devo gave
an 8. Okay. Was the Midway better than its predecessor, or at least? Well, what we're saying, Ariel, is that I love that film, but in comparison to this film is different. It gives you a better, bigger idea of what really happened there. It's less about the movie stars and more about the events. And they left out one thing, the Coral Sea, which is weird because it's as important as what Doolittle did with his raid and Pearl Harbor. But they left it completely out. But it's already a 2-hour, 19-minute movie. So I guess they had to leave that out. And didn't they give us some information from that? Do I recall that? That they mentioned something about losing one of the ships or something?
Yeah, they mentioned losing Lexington.
Yeah, because that took place at Coral Sea. So they tried to find a way to slip it in there.
Shot up.
It could have been a combination between the length of the movie and the budget, because rendering that battle would have been a
probably about the expense
increment.
The Battle at Midway. Yeah. The music was actually pretty good.
I didn't like the music.
It didn't interfere. I did. I mean, I don't think it's great, but it didn't interfere, and it did its purpose.
Music in war movies is difficult, and I think they did well.
I'm not big on having music while I'm watching a war film. The sound of combat is the only soundtrack that needs to be there. John Williams said that himself, by the way. John Williams himself said that. John Williams said that the music that I composed for Saving Private Ryan was for the in-between scenes. The combat scenes don't need a soundtrack or a score, because the battle sounds is the score.
I understand that, but the thing is, this one, I can't remember any of it.
I don't either, and I just watched it this morning.
I think that's good. That's good. I think that's good. No, you can say that all you want. If it's not memorable, it's not important. What's important is the movie. Did you walk away feeling the movie? Then if you don't recall the soundtrack, that's okay. I don't think it's important to have everything, the Raiders of the Lost Ark March, Superman's theme. I'm kind of annoyed that there is a theme to Saving Private Ryan, because the theme of Saving Private Ryan is the war. So if you walk away remembering the music, that's too bad. We're doing that this afternoon. Just kidding. We'll do it sometime.
You don't have time this afternoon.
You've never seen it?
I'll pause it. I'll pause it. I'll do what I always do with you. I pause it and then explain stuff and then go in, so it lessens the impact for you. And
Joe,
I know
I have never seen a war movie before starting that thing with Gerry. Ever. I wouldn't have been allowed when I was still at home. And
look at it never really is at this.
I was a science fiction nerd. And then this weird veteran makes me fall in love with him.
Well,
okay, Joe, you've been warned. You've been warned. You better be wearing clothes under that. That's from Ariel.
You guys know I'm not. I am Hugh Hefnering it all the way. Okay, all right.
Oh wait, I missed something here. Hold on, what was that? Snort of Poopus said something.
You need to reenact the end of your streams with that rope.
I don't remember the music. Sadly, a lot of the composers don't live up to the likes of like Jerry Goldsmith. I also don't think you should have the soundtrack should be all that important with a combat film.
Music just flutters up combat, man.
It just
yeah.
You should have this great opening theme for the credits and all that shit. But for the rest of the film, I just don't even care if there's any music at all. The coming home moment, you can throw it in there if you want to. But when they're in the thick of it, the only thing I want to hear is what's happening. And I believe that a lot of composers are smart enough to know that too. John Williams in particular. So, but no, I just don't think that a theme to a military film is that important musically. The theme of the story is more important than the musical theme. It's just the way I look at cinema. And any other film, I think you're right. I think it's important. Raiders of the Lost Ark, man. I mean, you look at that. It's got some combat in it, but it's heroic combat with guy versus Nazis. Indiana Jones punching Nazis.
Oh, you say the bad word twice.
Yahtzees?
Yeah, if they
YouTube is going to hit you over the fingers with that.
Yahtzees?
I just Googled their budget. they had 100 million budget and sadly only made 126 worldwide. It should have done better at the box office.
That's bad. That
is bad.
They probably made
such a
their money
good
back
movie.
on video. They made their money back on video on demand and shit like that, but you need to make that money theatrically. And
Yes.
but look, this was a passion project for Roland Emmerich. So is his movie about Shakespeare. I don't know if you've ever seen that film. It's based on the theory that William Shakespeare was not the person who actually wrote all those famous stories.
Wow.
And I'm trying to remember the name of it. I have not seen Moonfall, but I wasn't interested in it.
Moonfall.
I really wasn't. I
love what
dislike
Charlie says about
Independence
it,
Day
man.
resurgence.
I love what Charlie says about Moonfall. He said, so bad, I love it.
I enjoyed 2012 for what it's worth.
2012 is awesome.
Yeah,
If you say so.
I wasn't interested in 10,000 BC.
Yeah.
The Day After Tomorrow was great.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to find this one. Where's it at?
Yeah. You got Independence Day.
Anonymous. There it is. Anonymous
Anonymous
is the film. Also, I enjoyed the crap out of White House Down. It was intentionally supposed to be a Die Hard sequel, but they ended up reworking it and having a different character. But Anonymous is a really good film. I was surprised at how much I enjoyed it. It's got almost a 7 score on IMDb. It's who else did it star? Reese Ifans. I fucking love that guy. Reese Ifans, good actor. Vanessa Redgrave, David Thewlis, Edward Hogg, good actor. And the rest, she's a good actor. Jolie Richardson. She plays
look
young
who shows
Queen
up right
Elizabeth.
at the end. Hi, Zax.
Zax.
Tony Way is in it. Oh my god! And of course, it's the opening prologue is Derek Jacobi, one of my favorite actors of all time. Hey, Kyle, what's up, buddy? If you've never seen this film, Anonymous, you should watch it if you're interested in Shakespeare, because this is based on the theory that Shakespeare was a fraud, that he never wrote those plays. It was actually penned by a member of the House of Royals, and that he had to hide who he was. And so it becomes a mystery. And that's what the movie is a mystery, to solve a mystery. So I enjoyed the crap out of it. I thought Roland did a good job with it. It was really unusual for him. No epic thing about this film. It's just one of those things he wanted to do.
Most of his stuff is on a grand scale, you know.
He likes doing disaster films. It's his thing. What?
Guys, I'm going to run Zack's video.
Hey,
yeah, wait.
Yeah.
Seconds. So there you go, buddy. Also, the way he took out those 3 Tiger tanks.
the Oddball.
Yeah.
Kelly's Heroes. No, Kelly's Heroes. They're talking about that. They started a conversation about Oddball.
I love that movie. Oddball is one of the, because like I said, that movie was a World War II film, but it was made for a 60s crowd. So you've got
negative waves, man. The negative waves.
Weird relationship with the tanker crew and Oddball, the main guy played by Donald Sutherland, who's like, hey man, chill, man. It's clearly a hippie. I love that fucking movie. And it's got a 60s theme song to it, you know.
Well, he's a hippie until he's commanding that tank. Then he becomes another guy.
Yeah, let's not forget that they were all too old to be soldiers in that war. But yeah.
So I want to go through some more films. I want to do some more films here. Universal Soldier is really, in my opinion, where Roland Emmerich got big. and started showing how good a director he could be. Because I love that movie, Universal Soldier. But the year before, he did a film I love too called Moon 44 that his writing partner was an actor in. And it's a fun film. Then, of course, the original Stargate is just a great movie. I love Independence Day.
Yes.
His first fumble was Godzilla. Terrible movie. Then he did The Patriot, which is a great movie, but I can't watch it because once they get to the third son, I'm like, I'm out. I can't keep watching sons getting murdered. But I do love that ending and the revenge that he gets.
My sons were better
Great
men.
film.
Yeah.
Yep. The Day After Tomorrow, I really enjoy that. It's a father-son story trying to find one another in the midst of a horrifying disaster, global disaster. 10,000 BC, not interested in it. 2012 was fun. Damn it.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it.
Yes.
Anonymous, I enjoyed the crap out of it. I like that little story. White House Down, enjoyed it. Stonewall, have no idea what the fuck that is. Never heard of it. Independence Day Resurgence, a complete waste of time.
Yeah, come on.
I did not like that film.
I agree.
Midway, I loved it. Moonfall, not interested in seeing it. I don't believe in the hollow moon theory. I just don't. I think it's stupid. Coming up from him, he's got a reboot of Stargate.
What?
In development.
What?
Ah, shit.
Well, I heard about this.
That one.
I heard
You can't get
previously
better
that he was
Kurt
wanting
Russell.
to reboot.
Sorry. And what's funny is I'm not a
Well,
fan
I
of the
believe
TV
he's
show.
not going to reboot. I don't think he's going to reboot it. I think what he's going to do is do a proper sequel and probably bring Kurt Russell back.
That's the only thing you can do.
That would be cool.
But they already did a proper sequel. It's called SG-1.
Right. And I never watched that, but I am a huge fan of the first one. I'll never forget the first time I saw it.
It is. I'm a great fan, but to me, they're two different things.
Yeah.
They're two different things.
I said, leave it to the U.S. Air Force to start a revolution on another planet.
You have 4 different things. You have the movie, then you have the series SG-1, you have the series Atlantis, and then you have Universe. 4 different
Well,
things.
they're all connected. The
To
TV
the
shows are
Stargates,
all
yeah,
connected.
Yeah.
But see, he's got another one called Those About to Die, which sounds like a Gladiator film. And
that's the second part.
He's got one called Maya Lord. Maya Lord? A dramatic adventure of Spanish soldier Gonzalo Guerrero, shipwrecked on Yucatan and held captive by the Maya, who converts to their ways and beliefs and fights to defend them against his own people, Spain's conquistadors.
Gerry, Anima, Pope, Martin, got to go. It's Foxy's lunch hour.
All right, buddy.
Got to go. Got to give up the
Got to
room.
go myself. I got to make a phone
Hi,
call.
Joe.
Yep. Bye.
Yeah, I need to.
I'll see you later, Joe. All right, guys. We'll end it here and look forward to next week. And we will, of course, do something interesting, I'm sure. What are we doing for Military Monday? I forgot.
I think it was a gentlemanly.
Yeah. Yeah, that one.
Let me see. Yes,
Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare.
Oh, the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. Looking forward to that. I watched it already. It's really good. So, much better than.
I don't have any first watches with you.
Jesus,
I think Alan that title just heard it.
That title just destroyed my tongue. With that,
it's a mouthful.
So, we'll be back next week, guys. I want to thank everybody for being here. I want to thank Snortapoopus, Penny, D-Bud Martin, Sci-Fi Mombi, DJ Plain Ice, the Comic Relief Crusader, Mike, my buddy, Dragon Ruse Burner, Cam's Crash Courses, and Ariel Ballet. I want to thank all you guys. And of course, our good friend Zax was here. Did we miss anybody? Because it feels like there's something missing there. But anyway, I want to thank everybody. We got 51 watching right now. Hope everybody enjoyed the show. Probably a lot of them over on Twitter. Over on Twitter. Possibly even Rumble. I hope everybody
we had the
has
same thought, D-Bud. We put it in exactly at the same time.
Yeah,
Going to Brian's
I'll
boat.
be there, D Bud. I'm going to be there. I'll be joining Pope, and I both will be there to talk about D-Day.
Yep.
And
So hopefully you guys will join us for that.
Everybody,
that should be a fun show.
Yeah, I wish we could dump over there, but they're not on for a few hours. So that's it, guys. We're out of here. Have a good day.
4 hours.